My name is Olivia, and I believed I understood my marriage better than anyone. My husband, Jack, and I had been together for over 6 years, married for 4. We had this unspoken understanding. He was a steady, composed one, while I was a fiery, witty one. We complemented each other flawlessly. Or so I thought. That night, everything changed. Jack had always been the kind of person who never let things bother him. He would laugh things off, go with the flow, and never let minor inconveniences affect his mood. I adore that about him. He was a calm to my chaos. But looking back, maybe I took that for granted. I never imagined that a simple joke could be the thing that shattered us. It started like any other evening. We were invited to a gathering at Mike and Lisa's house, a casual get-together with drinks, delicious food, music, and good company. Jack was never too fond of parties, but he came along because he knew how much I enjoyed them. I always teased him for being the introvert in our relationship. I joked that if there was a party, he'd be the one standing by the snack table while I worked the room. He always laughed, always played along. But that night, something changed. At first, everything went as expected. Everyone was laughing, joking, and having a great time. At one point, someone casually asked, "Do you think your partner could protect you in a dangerous situation?" I didn't even think before answering. Without hesitation, I blurted out, "Jack? Oh, please." If we ever got into trouble, I'd probably have to protect him. The man complains about carrying groceries. He's more likely to lecture an attacker on patience than fight back. The room erupted into laughter, and I laughed along. It was all in good fun. I never meant any harm. Jack wasn't the strongest physically, but he had other strengths. But the moment those words left my mouth, I noticed something in his eyes shift. It was brief, but I caught it. The hurt, the way his smile faded for just a second. I brushed it off. "Oh, come on," I said, nudging Lisa beside me. "Look at him. What's he going to do in a fight? Teach the guy about mindfulness." I laughed again, thinking I was just being funny. But Jack didn't laugh. He quietly grabbed his beer, sat back down, and withdrew into himself. The rest of the night, he wasn't the same. He wasn't sulking, but there was a distance between us that I couldn't ignore. He didn't engage in conversations like he usually did. Every time I glanced at him, an unsettling silence lingered between us. I thought he'd shake it off. He always did, right? When the party ended, I expected Jack to wait for me to finish chatting before we said our goodbyes together. But he didn't. He simply grabbed his coat, walked straight to the door, and headed to the car without a word. I raised an eyebrow, thinking, guess someone's in their feelings. I didn't get it. I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just a joke. He'd be fine, right? But as soon as we got into the car, the silence between us became unbearable. I tried making small talk, but he barely responded. Short answers, quiet nods. It felt like he was a million miles away. The tension in the air was suffocating. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. Finally, I couldn't take the silence anymore. "Jack, are you seriously mad about that joke?" I asked, half laughing, half confused. "It was just a joke. Come on, you know I was kidding." He gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles turning white. But he didn't look at me. His voice was calm, too calm, and that made my stomach twist. "It's not just a joke, Olivia," he said, his tone eerily steady. "It's the way you talk about me. Like I'm some kind of joke. Do you even respect me at all?" I froze. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What do you mean? Of course I respect you. You know I love you, right?" Jack slowly shook his head. "No, Olivia. You tease me, belittle me. Turn me into the punchline of every joke, and I just go along with it because I thought that's what you wanted. But last night, that was my breaking point. I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened, and I tried to laugh it off, but the words wouldn't come out. "You're being dramatic, Jack. It was just a joke." "No," he said, his voice cold and firm. "It's not just a joke. It's years of jokes. Years of feeling like I'm nothing more than something to laugh at. And last night was the final straw. I'm done pretending it doesn't affect me. I can't keep doing this." My heart sank. This wasn't just about one joke. It was everything. The endless teasing, the way I unknowingly made him feel small. I thought it was harmless fun, but it wasn't, not to him. We pulled into the driveway, and as soon as he turned off the engine, he didn't wait for me to speak. He simply opened the door, grabbed his jacket, and walked inside without saying a word. I stayed in the car, frozen, feeling the weight of the silence. It wasn't just a bad joke. I had pushed him too far. The next morning, I expected him to move on like he always did. He had never held on to things before, right? But this time it was different. Jack wasn't just distant. He was silent. He barely acknowledged me when I tried to talk to him. I couldn't understand it. "Jack, are you still upset about that joke?" I asked hesitantly. He looked at me then, his eyes so distant, so cold, that I almost didn't recognize him. "I don't think this is working anymore, Olivia." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean? We've been together for so long. You're not leaving me over a joke, right?" His voice was steady but final. "It's not just a joke. It's everything. The way you talk to me. The way you treat me. I can't keep being the target of every joke. I deserve better than this." I didn't know how to respond. He was right, but it was too late to fix it. Jack walked out of the house that morning. He didn't come back. Days turned into weeks, and he continued to shut me out. I kept hoping he'd realize I never meant to hurt him, that he'd come back. But deep down, I knew he was done. I called his friends, his family, hoping they'd tell me he would change his mind. But no one did. They all knew what I had done. They told me it wasn't just a joke. It was a pattern, and Jack had finally had enough. I never realized how much I had taken him for granted until he was gone. I had always acted like he was lucky to have me, never stopping to think that maybe, just maybe, I was the lucky one. Now, sitting alone in our empty house, scrolling through old pictures, I finally saw the truth. The biggest joke wasn't the one I made at that party. The biggest joke was thinking he would always be there no matter what. Jack was stronger than I ever gave him credit for, and I was the fool who only realized it after he walked away.